going on, everybody? Here we are live. Welcome to Timeout. I'm here with my co-host, Peter Blake. We're going to talk NBA.
Hold on. We got to get a timeout here for the rep. Because they actually get started over. Welcome to another edition of Timeout on 24 Flix. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with my co-host, Mr. Chris Cuff. How are you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great. How about yourself, man? Long day, right?
It was a long day, and it was a long weekend because I thought there was a certain team that kind of got the short end of the stick. We'll definitely get into that. But hopefully we didn't freak you out with that start there, Chris, doing the start and then restarting it, because according to the refs, during that playoff weekend, you get 5 downs. You get an opportunity to start over again. Yes. So we'll definitely talk about the AFC Championship game, get into the NFC Championship game. Of course, the teams are now set for Super Bowl 57 in Arizona, as it will be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get into that. We'll also talk about the new coaching hires that have happened today. Breaking news, Sean Payton, a new Denver Bronco coach. How much did the Saints get out of that deal? And DeMeco Ryans makes his way back to the Houston Texans. Hopefully the Texans can give him more than 1 year. We'll also get into the NBA, talk about LeBron James, and once again, that young Orlando Magic team doing big things and also making the All-Star game. In fact, the Rising Stars Challenge game. So we'll get into that, Chris. You ready to go on Timeout on 24 Flix?
Let's go, man. Big things. Let's do it.
Absolutely. And let's start off with the Philadelphia Eagles and the 49ers. And I honestly thought this would be a closer game, but the third play of the game kind of set the tone with Brock Purdy going out with a major injury. You get the greatness of Josh Johnson, who has played for 13 teams. There's a reason why. And basically at that point, Philadelphia went on to dominate. Your thoughts of this game?
What a game. I'll say this. It was a tragedy. It was a tragedy of football proportions for San Francisco. It seemed like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. But when I see, they just beat my Dallas Cowboys, and when I see Dallas and San Francisco, all I see is Joe Montana throwing that pass to Dwight Clark for that catch, the catch.
Still haven't
I'm happy
about that.
I'm happy to see San Francisco go down. Even if it's with Philly, an NFC East rival. Sad, but hey, fourth string quarterback gets a concussion. I mean, we couldn't write that. That's like an epic novel. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And the quarterback and Purdy went out with a UCL injury, which is an elbow, and it could actually be it could require Tommy John surgery. Hopefully it doesn't, but it looks like he's going to be out for 6 months. So the 49ers luck ran out. And at the end of the day, we talked about it on this show, how the Eagles not only having Jalen Hurts, who most likely will be the MVP this year, but also could be on the best team in the National Football League. There were some weeks with not only his play, but the running attack and the defense getting after it. And they did the same thing on Sunday. And that was the reason why they're moving on to Super Bowl 57 versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right. Philly, they had it going on. Actually, the offense wasn't super potent. They weren't throwing the ball all over the place. A lot of those passes, the San Francisco corners had them covered like a glove. I mean, there was no one gap that Hurts overthrew. But, man, so they knew what they were doing. Apparently, they were really focusing on the run. And it worked. All their touchdowns were scored on runs. And San Francisco was just picking up the pieces and trying to figure out who was going to play quarterback because they ran out of players.
Were you surprised how this was not a close game? Because we talked about it. It was close at the beginning, even with Josh Johnson coming in. Give credit to where credit is due. The 49er defense kept them in the game. But at the end of it, you've got to get something out of your offense. You had a critical turnover with Josh Johnson, and we talked about it. When you get into the playoffs and you commit those silly turnovers and you give a team not only a short field but second life, they're going to make you pay.
Right, and we were expecting, we were focusing on Purdy. And even though he's had a good string of games, this is the Philly rush, and they were going to come at him with some heat. But, oh, my gosh, man, we didn't expect this. This was crazy.
With that UCL injury, do you think there could be possibly a quarterback opening? And I mention this because we're down here in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady rumors have been flying all over the place. Could you see Tom Brady going to San Francisco with Purdy in 6 months, Trey Lance possibly being on the trade block? I don't think they're going to give up on him. You give up 3 first-round picks, but there's been talk of them moving him, and then also Jimmy Garoppolo being a free agent. So do you think Tom Brady could head to the San Francisco 49ers, and it could be a lot like what the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers were, just one player away from being a Super Bowl contender and possibly a Super Bowl winner?
Well, did you hear what Brady said today?
I did not.
He didn't say anything. Nobody knows what's going on. There's rumors here, rumors there. Nobody has a clue. It's just like, that's one thing I can't stand pre-Super Bowl, besides this coming weekend when nothing is going on. All these pundits saying all this stuff. Everybody is really just pulling it out of you know what, just to fill time. Nobody knows what's going on, man. Rumors here, rumors there. I mean, there's a number of places he can go. We really won't know until he tells us. And there's openings all over the place, and we know his choices. We've gone at it over and over ad nauseum. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything. That's the game, right? Right, Peter? That's the game.
Oh, that is the game, and you deserve a timeout because that is the best part about this season is the speculation is in full bloom. We'll see what happens and where they go. Adam Schefter reporting that the Miami Dolphins look like they're not going to be interested because they're going to be committed to Tua. So we'll see what happens. The Raiders, the Bucs have an opportunity. They have to find an offensive coordinator. And I thought it was interesting, and we'll get to the AFC Championship in a moment, how they're interviewing candidates and basically saying, how are you going to build an offense around Tom Brady? So even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't turned the page over on Brady. Do you think Brady has turned the page on the Bucs, or do you still think there's a possibility of him coming back in a Bucs uniform?
There's always a possibility. He might be sitting back and waiting to see what kind of talent they bring, how they freshen up the talent on the Bucs. That might be an opportunity. As far as the Dolphins, they better get a hell of a backup quarterback. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Because Tua is fragile now. He's been fragile, but now he's brain fragile. So that next concussion could come at any time, and he's out. So I don't know. Interesting things coming. That's a gamble, putting all your eggs in the basket of Tua. They better get a hell of a backup quarterback.
You want to talk about the AFC Championship game?
Let's talk about it, man. Jeez, we got one-legged Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And we got Joe Cool coming to Burrowhead, ready to do some damage. The KC defense stepped up. They gave Burrow all kinds of problems. He had to fight for every yard he got. Sacked 5 times in the AFC Championship game, which is ridiculous. And then came tied up, and one little shove, one little push, one little shove, a little push, roughing the passer or unnecessary roughness, and that gives KC the game. It would have been overtime for sure. But talk about the officiating in this game, because I know it's one of your favorite topics to go off on.
They deserve it. Timeout. It was completely atrocious. I mean, I get it. Joseph Asai can't make that. You can't make that play. You're going to call it every time. But how about the holding on the play? Did you see that? Did you see where the defensive end was being held? Did you see where the Kansas City Chiefs got an extra down? I get it. Cincinnati was able to overcome that. But it's those type of egregious calls that makes you think, maybe Vegas is in on this. Maybe this game is rigged. I hate to say that. I love WWE wrestling. It's scripted. I'm hoping that the NFL isn't scripted, but I wasn't so sure on Sunday night. I still feel like Cincinnati was the better team, although to be fair, Joe Burrow didn't necessarily have his best game. He threw 2 interceptions, and as you mentioned, you give up 5 sacks to the Kansas City Chiefs. You're just asking for it. So give credit to where credit is due, and you feel bad for Asai pushing Patrick Mahomes out of there, and it looked like a LeBron James flop, in my opinion.
Oh, my gosh. I can't wait to talk about that. But, yeah, absolutely.
I hate for it to come down to something along the lines of that. You have holding. You also saw the punt return, which put Kansas City in position. There was also holding on that call. I mean, I don't know where the refs are coming from. And at the end of the day, for me, it's all about consistency. If you're going to call it this way, then call it the same way you're going to call it for the other team. And it didn't seem like that on Sunday night. Just my opinion.
Right. Absolutely, man. But KC goes on, and here we go. Super Bowl time. KC and Philly.
How do you feel early about this matchup? Yeah, I'm going to ask you first. How do you feel about it? Yes.
KC's going to give him a game. KC has a revenge factor on it because last time they were in, the Bucs took them out. So they're going to be on fire for this. In Philly, this is their first time in a while. They fought hard. They led all season. So it really depends, I think, on Mahomes dealing with that KC rush with the Ndamukong Suh in his face all day. And then does Jalen Hurts step up to the plate and get the job done? Because he doesn't always do that. When you know that, we've seen it this season.
Yeah, and it's the Andy Reid Bowl. I mean, it's his former team, right? So there's storylines in this Super Bowl. It's exactly what the NFL wanted. Just saying, you also have two young quarterbacks in the league, possibly Patrick Mahomes, who a lot of sports pundits are calling him the greatest of all time. I'm not ready to say that yet. And Jalen Hurts, who had a great season and once again most likely will be the MVP. We'll see how that works out. And then you also have a little story there with the Kelce brothers and Travis Kelce, who's tremendous. Has been a big-time part of Patrick Mahomes and his development for the Chiefs. And you also have Jason Kelce on that offensive line who's been responsible for protecting Jalen Hurts. So once again, great storylines for Super Bowl 57. I like Philly to win this game because they have the complete team. I'm still looking at the injury situation. I shouldn't with Patrick Mahomes, but I feel like that pass rush is going to be able to get to him, unlike the Bengals were able to. I get it. He's going to get a couple of weeks to rest, but still, I don't think a high ankle sprain is something you're going to be able to overcome overnight. I like the Eagles in that game right now. We'll see how all the other storylines play out. What do you say?
Same here, and I also liked what the Niners did when they rushed the Eagles. Joey Bosa would come in, but he would stop in his rush to make sure he covered the edge in case Hurts tried to go around that edge. And that was effective because Hurts was not scrambling all over the place in that game. So I really like the Eagles in this one as well. I think they have, like you said, the complete package on both sides. But we'll see what Mahomes, that Mahomes magic, man. I keep saying it, that Mahomes magic. You never know what he's going to pull out of his bag of tricks. But with that rush in his face, I don't think he's going to be able to overcome that.
And talk about the Chiefs because you lose Tyreek Hill, and I'm not afraid to admit this. I should be, but I actually picked them last in that division with all the teams in Denver and the Raiders and the Chargers and the talent. And once again, Mahomes and that coaching staff gets it done. You got Marcus Valdez-Scantling, who had a big game, over 100 yards receiving versus Cincinnati. He's been a big contribution. And you know what? Credit to where credit is due with this Chiefs team with all the injuries. Kelce, weren't sure if he was going to play because it was a game-time decision. With back spasms, McCole Hardman was out. Juju Smith-Schuster was out of this game. So basically, you're depending on backups at the end of the day, and you're still able to get it done. And I really think that's not only the great coaching of Andy Reid and also Eric Bieniemy, but also the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have an opportunity. They're going to have some rest. We're going to definitely be talking about it next week a little bit more in depth, I believe. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be a fun week between both of those teams. With that being said, we did have some breaking news today, as we talked about coming in. Sean Payton is now the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. Now, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN, the Broncos have given up a first and a second round pick to the Saints. Is this the right move for John Elway and crew here? Can he turn around this terrible offense, which was on prime time and seemed like for the majority of the season with a god-awful offense? Is this the right move? Peyton to the Broncos to turn around Russell Wilson.
It's a major step in the right direction. Russell Wilson, I'm not sure. He will look better. Peyton will put him in better positions, but I'm kind of out on Russell Wilson. He's getting older. He's not as fast. He's still got skills, but I think they're going to need more to build it. So it's going to take Peyton a couple years to get this right. What do you think?
I think you deserve a timeout because you had Nathaniel Hackett as your coach, right? He doesn't have that coaching experience. His biggest claim to fame is that he had the offense for Aaron Rodgers, but it's Aaron Rodgers' offense, okay? Sean Payton knows how to turn around quarterbacks. He's done it before. He'll do it again. He did it with Drew Brees. He did it with Jameis Winston. He did it with Teddy Bridgewater. He always gets the best out of those players. And even though Wilson is getting up there in age at the end of the day, I feel like this was the correct move. Furthermore, if you get some more pieces there on defense, on offense, I still feel like they could not only be a playoff contender, playoffs, but also a Super Bowl contender. You're not trading a first and second round pick for a guy just to get you into the playoffs. The Broncos seem like they have the resources. They're going all in. And John Elway had to make this move because at the end of the day, even though he's a Hall of Fame quarterback and what he's done for that organization is tremendous, you have to start winning, and you have to start winning fast, and that's the reason why you make the move for Peyton in the first place.
Well, I'm going to have to give you a timeout.
Whoa!
Because I don't like this move in the first place because Peyton's supposed to go to Dallas. It messes up my whole program. Well, and I don't like Russell Wilson anyway.
Well, listen, you decided to make the sacrificial lamb being Kellen Moore, who, of course, picked up an offensive coordinator job with the LA Chargers. I mean, do the Cowboys deserve a timeout? Should they have gone after Sean Payton instead of Kellen Moore and most of the coaching staff?
The Cowboys deserve a timeout because now we got to rely on Mike McCarthy for the whole offense. Which Aaron Rodgers years back said it was too basic and wasn't effective. And that's why McCarthy was bounced from Green Bay. So Cowboys are in that position now.
Was it fair for the Cowboys because they came to a mutual agreement, a.k.a. he got fired, but was it the right move by the Cowboys to let Kellen Moore go? I mean, still a young coach, has done some great things there. I think it's more of Dak than Kellen Moore. So was that the right decision, in your opinion, by the Cowboys to let him go?
I don't think it was. I really think it's going to prove to be a mistake in the end that they let Kellen Moore go. And we shall see that in the coming seasons.
What did the Houston Texans do today, Chris?
Man, oh my gosh. So here we go. D'Amico Ryans, the star of the San Francisco defense that held up well against Philly that whole game. Well, he got his reward. He's hired as the head coach of the Houston Texans. He was formerly a linebacker for the Texans and was even rookie of the year for them and went to the Pro Bowl. So he's going back down to Houston to try and shape things up, man. He seemed like a great guy, well organized, and had that defense really humming in San Francisco. So hopefully he can get the things going down there in Houston. It's going to take a minute, but I think they can do it.
And that's the key. Where this Houston Texan organization give him more than a minute. It's a 6-year contract. You just got done firing 2 coaches in 2 years after 1 year. So hopefully you give D'Amico Ryans the proper time that he needs, at least 3 to 4 years to develop, to build up. If not, this is a wasted hire because Ryans definitely is one of the young, hotshot defensive coordinators in the league. Even the Denver Broncos, believe this or not, according to Adam Schefter, once again, wanted to hire him as the defensive coordinator. Can you imagine pairing Sean Payton on offense and D'Amico Ryans on defense? But, of course, Ryan said he wanted the head coaching job. For me, I'm looking at it. Did you see Lovie Smith get fired after a year? Why would Ryans want this job, in your opinion?
That's true. Well, his first head coaching opportunity, so he jumped at it. And I don't blame him. I would have done it too if I was in his position. It seems like every assistant coach wants their shot at the head coaching job. So, I mean, he might have inherited a dumpster fire, but they were getting a few wins and they were looking pretty good towards the end of the season. So there's a positive swing to what's going on down in Houston, and hopefully he can take it all the way and make some big differences down there.
How many years do you think Ryans gets as a head coach there? And how many years should he get with this Houston Texans organization that is in disarray right now?
Honestly, it depends on how bad they look. Because if it's a total mess, they might get rid of him quickly. If they show some promise, I'm hoping he gets at least 3. I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Rumors down here. Let's shift focus here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We already talked about Tom Brady, but Rob Gronkowski was interviewed by Sports Illustrated, and he was asked who would Tom choose. Would it be the Las Vegas Raiders or the Bucks? And he actually said the Bucks. Now, I still think there's a possibility of Gronkowski coming back in 2023, especially if Brady decides to start and come back for the Bucks. I mean, what do you think about this whole story? Is he kind of foreshadowing things to come? Gronk saying Brady would choose the Bucks over the Raiders. I heard it was going to be the Raiders or nothing. What's going on here?
Right, right. You know what it is? It's everyone is saying, again, Thomas talked to no one except cussing Jim Gray out, but it's his kids, man. So that's why everybody's still floating around the Florida teams, because his kids are down here, and that's like a big priority to him. He probably doesn't want to move them out to anywhere. You know, he want to move them to another city. Their mother is here, and Tom is here. So that's what I think. It gives the Bucks a big chance to actually keep him. You know, but we'll see. We'll see. Because when he left, he was like goodbye forever, from what everyone said, and even we saw that in the media. It seemed like the same thing.
Right, exactly. And you cover it for 24 Flix. This is Time Out. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with my co-host, Mr. Chris Cuff here. Definitely like and download the app here on Roku, on various platforms. And, you know, with that being said, the Bucs are still looking for an offensive coordinator. They finished up some interviews with Keenan McCardell, Clint Kubiak, but the big-time name out there they finished today was Todd Monken out of Georgia. Is this the slam dunk move that will get Tom Brady back? And were you surprised to hear those rumors that came out from NFL Network that the Bucs were asking potential offensive coordinator candidates? How would you build an offense around Tom Brady?
It makes sense from the Bucs sense, because that's who they have tentatively now. That's their last offense was around Tom Brady. Maybe they know something that we don't. I don't know. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, they have to rebuild that. They did the same thing that the Cowboys did. They basically clean house on the offensive side. They got to rebuild that. And I mean, if you saw the Georgia's offense in the last couple of years, that's not a bad place to look for offensive coordinator. So again, interested to see what Tom says, and what so this mystery could be over and we can get on with our lives. But it gives us something to talk about, right?
It absolutely gives us something to talk about. And, of course, Monken was the previous offensive coordinator in 2018 with none other than Jameis Winston under the Dirk Cutter staff. Had some big numbers there, so we'll see if they can get him back in the fold, because I think, you know, that's a big step in the right direction. At the end of the day, it always goes back to Tom Brady, and that's where you start. If he decides to come back, then you can rework his contract. If he retires, you could still rework his contract. But Chris, if he chooses somebody else, it is a $35 million cap hit. With that being said, the NFL announced this week that the cap is going up $16 million more. Man, where's our money at? We need to start business at this juncture. Of course, leading the charge, the Chicago Bears with $94 million of cap room. You expect them to spend a lot of that money, right, in the offseason for Justin Fields?
Absolutely. And they have the first-round pick. So the Chicago better make some moves to protect Justin Fields, although there's talk about them possibly trading him as well. So, I mean, lots of rumors going around. But Chicago has weaknesses, definitely with the quarterback protection. But I'm sure at receiver they need help as well. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But it's going to be interesting to watch.
And this was interesting because Warren Sapp was the one that came out with the rumor, of course, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, former Raider. Can't even believe I said that just now. He went to the Raiders, one of the greatest defensive tackles of all time. But he said he's hearing the Bears are going to trade Justin Fields and draft a Bryce Young. What I will say is back in the annals of time, the rumor was that the Chicago Bears are the team that came out and said that Sapp failed all those drug tests. And the reason why is because they were actually trying to drop his stock. Is this Sapp 35 years later trying to get back the Chicago Bears and his ultra pettiness?
Of course. Of course. If you had a chance to do that, wouldn't you? I mean, man, that's easy. Of course, man. I take a shot at somebody that did me like that. Absolutely, man.
And I would like to give him a timeout because it is absolutely petty. Turn the page, but this is Warren Sapp. This is how Warren Sapp is. He always has an agenda. I'm not believing it until I see it. Of course, the Arizona Cardinals, they drafted Josh Rosen, and then eventually 1 year later, they move on with Kyler Murray. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But the Bears, you cannot trade Justin Fields. He's too ultra talented. And he basically, when he said this rumor, he said somebody more capable of throwing the ball consistently, a backhanded shot at Fields.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he was amazing. And that was just really his first time to really try and get going. Of course, he got hurt, but you saw how special he was. I wish that these teams had the patience to really give these guys time to develop. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence. Once he had time, he had a year, made his mistakes, took his lumps. Next year, still made mistakes, but he got into the playoffs. Wait till what he looks like next year. And I think Justin Fields is going to be on that same trajectory if he gets the chance. This microwave society, man, everybody wants now, be great now. Same thing with Tua, you know.
It's a perfect comparison because you look at the touchdown to interception ratio for Jalen Hurts last year to this year. That's exactly what you want Justin Fields to do. And I feel like if the Chicago Bear organization really wants to keep the kid upright and healthy, you build an offensive line and you also give him a veteran wide receiver, possibly a DeAndre Hopkins. You already traded for a Chase Claypool. You got to put the weapons around him. If you're going to build around him, that's the way you do it. And I think the Bears are looking at that, especially with that $94 million. It could be even more than that to start free agency, which is in March. You want to shift gears and go to the NBA?
Let's do it, man. Lots of stuff going on in the NBA. The biggest story, LeBron James, the greatest NBA player of his time for right now. And we'll see. We'll see if that changes. He needs more rings, right, Pete? Needs more rings? Is that what you say?
He needs more rings. You almost said the greatest of all time, and I was like, I was getting ready to time.
I know you were leading as you're pressing the button. You were right there.
I am ready to press that button if you keep it up. Sir. But you're exactly right. LeBron James, greatest player, one of the greatest players of this era at this juncture, 117 points away for a bad Laker team, which is 23-28. If they could get Anthony Davis back, if he wasn't hurt, they make a trade. We'll see how it works out. They're 13th in the Western Conference, but knowing LeBron James and knowing this team and the talent they have and the potential that they have, in your opinion, can they still make a run for one of those final playoff spots?
They have LeBron's on their team. AD, I know he was back recently. I have to check and see if he's still playing with them because he could have got hurt, but they might be nursing him back. But if AD is back, they will make the playoffs. They'll get in at the tail end of the playoffs. The big news is that he's 117 points from Kareem's record, and he's scoring 30-plus points a game. He's had recently games over 40 points, so he will get the record within the next week. Kareem has 38,387 points, which is phenomenal. LeBron has 38,271 points, is right behind him. So that is just incredible. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who Pat Riley says is the greatest player of all time.
Okay, Pat. All right. Whatever you say, my friend, because at the end of the day, for me, it's always going to be Michael Jordan, but you're exactly right. It's an unbelievable accomplishment by LeBron James. I feel like it's a little bit easier, if you will. I've never played the game before, but you look at the defense and you look at the defenses back there, back in the 80s and the 90s when Jordan was playing and the other players were playing. A little bit different, a little bit more physical. There was physicality to it. I'm not saying there's not defense these days, but come on. It's a little bit watered down. It's a little bit easier.
There's no dragging coaches across the floor. You know.
Right. You don't have players taking off and this and that. I sound like the guy, get off my guy or get off my grass guy. But for me, back in the 80s and the 90s was more physical than it is today. Do players who have more skill than those players in yesteryear? Absolutely. Do they have an advantage? Absolutely. But still, it's an amazing accomplishment when you're talking about LeBron James and what he's doing at his age. Now, there was some
men were men.
Yes.
Men were men.
Men were men. There was some controversy, though. It looked like Jason Tatum hacked LeBron, and they didn't make a call. And it looked like LeBron James was going to have a conniption fit. He was having a conniption fit. And then Patrick Beverly brought out his camera and gets teed up. I think it's so genius. I mean, it kind of brings you back to Joe Horn, getting the cell phone, but that's like a touchdown celebration. This is even more savage by Beverly. Right.
First of all, okay, it's end of the game. Lakers are trying to win. LeBron is driving to the basket, has his arm up, going to lay one in, and Tatum just hits his arm right in his wrist.
Yeah.
Blatant, right in front of everyone. No call. LeBron is stunned, screaming, jumping up and down, fell to his knees, bowed his head on the court, and is just walking around shaking his head. At the same time, Pat Bev runs over to one of the photographers, says, "Can I borrow your camera?" Brings it to another ref, shows him the screen, and he says, "It was a foul. It was a foul." So the ref just shakes his head and just gives him a T. That was comedy. It was
completely a crazy game. I was following it, not only watching it, but on Twitter. And if you follow Twitter, it's just amazing thing there. The next game. Yes, absolutely. Their next game is against the Knicks. So that's tonight. So tonight, it will definitely be interesting. The trading deadline is also Thursday, February 9th. Let's talk about the Orlando Magic. Tell me what happened last night against the Philadelphia 76ers. They win, and they're 20-31 right now, Chris. Pretty impressive by this young Magic team once again.
This team has no quit. They've had no quit since last year. That's one big lesson that they learned in their opening season with Coach Jamal Mosley is no quit. They fight to the end. The Sixers are ranked number 1 in CBS Sports Power Rankings this week. The Magic really had a terrible first quarter. They were down 30-17, and it looked like everything was over. They matched the Sixers, a little bit over the Sixers in the second quarter, and slowly built their way out. And the star of the game, Paolo Banchero, who had 29 points. This rookie is killing it. And then Markelle Fultz returning back to Philly, where he was humiliated and told he couldn't shoot and was traded to Orlando. He had a double-double, 12 points and 10 rebounds. So he had a great game, and they were down, and all of a sudden, they beat Philly by 10 points in the end. It's crazy. It's breaking all kinds of records. I mean, they haven't won in Philadelphia since 2016, the Magic. So this is definitely a different team that teams are facing now. The Magic are coming up.
Yeah, they got off to a slow start, and then they're getting their players back now, of course. Do you think, because I asked this about the Lakers, Chris, do you think the Magic can make a run here after the trading deadline for one of those final playoff spots? Because remember, they have had the Boston Celtics number this year. Yeah, so that's not necessarily a throwaway series, if you will.
Right. And the Magic also, I mean, they have some players that they can move that are not playing a big factor. We haven't seen Terrence Ross in a week. Also, Mo Bamba, he's popped in here and there. There's a few players that they have that they can trade that might bump up a playoff team and get them some players, some things to work with to improve their rankings. But Jonathan Isaac is only playing eight minutes a game, so he's not even a factor yet. And he's still coming out with like 2 steals and maybe 4 or 5 points a game. So he's just getting started. They will only get better, and we still have half the season to go. So I'm definitely seeing them pretty close to, again, like the Lakers, one of the lower playoff spots for sure.
Yeah, and I don't want to see them trade anybody because I feel like if you trade anybody, you ruin the chemistry on this team. And I get it, you may want to upgrade at the trading deadline, but the problem with that is you also may give up a young player that actually may be a bigger contribution to another team that could have been a contribution for this team. I've seen it happen before. I don't want to see it happen again. We had some breaking news, and again, it comes down to Boncaro and, of course, Franz Wagner representing the Magic. Yes, thank you. At the 2023 Rising Stars Challenge. I mean, how excited are you to see both of these players play in that game? And I'll tell you why I'm excited, because the Magic have been considered, I guess the last 5 to 10 years is rebuilding. They don't have young stars. But now getting these two players in that game on national television is only going to build up this mystique of this young Magic team and probably put some eyes on this team going forward.
Right. They have a bunch of players that were like top first round picks. They all haven't clicked yet, or Isaac was a very high pick. He's injured and he's still coming back. So seeing Paolo definitely deserves it. We did a post-game interview with a couple of the Magic players, and they were like, one of their questions was, players coming out of college, they always have a point where they hit a wall in the middle of the season. And I think it was Gary Clark, one of the guards, and Wendell Carter Jr., the center. And they said, oh, no, he's not going to hit a wall. Paolo's not going to hit a wall. There's no way he's going to hit a wall. He's just more mature and ready. And again, he's a rookie, and he's averaging over 20 points a game in his first half of his first NBA season. So Paolo deserves it. Franz has always been a surprise. His fundamentals, his scoring, 3 points, and he's nifty at just driving to the paint and good on defense. So both of them deserve it. I'm ready for a Magic All-Star. I think it's going to be Paolo in the coming years, but we'll see who else develops and comes up.
Could be both. And I think, again, Bol is definitely in that conversation too, because he's done some amazing things and he's just got a skill set out there. We'll see what the future holds for this Orlando Magic team. But I tell you right now, it's a lot better watching this team than the last couple of years, because you knew not only the injuries, but they were in a tanking situation. This team seems like they're coming together at the right time. They're getting healthy at the right time, knock on wood. Hopefully you have no injuries and continue to keep on playing great basketball. Anything else here? Final thoughts, Mr. Chris Cuff, here on 24 Flix's timeout.
Final thoughts. I hate this upcoming weekend. There's no football. I was actually looking for something to watch. You're not going to watch the Pro Bowl
skills contest? You're not into that?
What is that? What are they doing? Relay races and sack hopping and come on, man. What is this? I can go down to the park and see that. Go to a family reunion and see that stuff.
I feel like it may be the future of the NFL with flag football, and it's also possibly a future ACL injury. I hate to say that, knock on wood, but you hope something like that doesn't happen. So, yeah,
men were men.
Yes,
men were men, where they would go to Hawaii and just chill on the beach
and not tackle
and half play a game. And just chill, man.
I swear, I love the Pro Bowl. I love the fact of, Bucks making Pro Bowls and young players making Pro Bowls. But honestly, the game itself was just terrible. It's just terrible. No tackling at all. Yeah. Guys running around wide open. I'm glad they get away with the game for the skills contest. I'm going to watch it. You know why? Because I'm a football fan. I got to watch it. I'm going to watch everything. I'm taking it all in. Because the Bucks are out of it. Of course, your Cowboys are out of it. Yeah. But you have some interest in this week. It is going to be an interesting week any way it goes.
Yeah. Maybe Any Given Sunday is on or something like that. Maybe I'll.
There you go. There you go. Any Given Sunday, your favorite football movie of all time?
I like Longest Yard. That one. Actually, with Sandler. There's some fools in that too. I like both of those.
Yeah.
What about you? What's yours, man?
Any Given Sunday, and of course, it goes back to Denzel Washington and Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely, man.
All right. Well, for Chris Cuff, I'm your host, Peter Blake. Definitely tune in next time on 24 Flix, because you never know when you're going to get a timeout.